Hello, my name is Mitya, and in this tutorial I'm going to explain how to change the position of the camera in Unreal Engine based on the time in the sequence of Lightact. So I'll be using a demo project of Unreal Engine, which is Landscape Mountains, I think it's called. And what we'll be doing is that based on the layer time, as I mentioned, we'll be traveling along the along some path in the landscape. Great. So I'm going to, before we begin, I already enabled the required plugins, which are Lightact plugin and spout plugin, and they are available for free on our GitHub page, and there's a separate tutorial explaining how to install them. Great. So let's begin in Lightact. We start in the devices window where we insert a spout server. This node will basically receive the texture from Unreal Engine. So that's why let's name the spout UE4 and check the listening checkbox. It says not receiving because Unreal Engine is not sending anything yet. We'll also be sending the layer time through a JSON memory share, so we need this node as well. And I'm going to type in vars to UE and make sure the streaming checkbox is checked. We don't need the 600 second long sequence, so I'm going to change that to 10 seconds, and I'm going to insert a layer and change its duration to 10 seconds as well. Now we can double click it, and in here we want to create a node called layer time, and this node basically outputs the layer time in float, basically in seconds. And what we are going to need is a shared memory sender where we'll be sending this layer time, and we need a float multiply because we don't want to be sending the exact seconds, as you'll see later, but we want to be sending the relative time from 0 to 1. So I'm going to divide this, basically multiply this by 10, which is the same as divide by 10, and the 10 is because our sequence length is 10. And let's connect it to here, and let's change the name to layer time. Okay, we'll also need to, of course, receive the texture from Unreal Engine. So let's render to canvas. Let's create a canvas and do this. Make sure this is selected and make sure this is selected as well. Great. I think that's all we needed to do in Lightact. So let's switch to Unreal Engine. Okay, here we are. So what we'll create is a new folder, and let's type it spline or maybe camera mover, and double click it, and in here we'll just create a new actor, a very simple actor called camera mover. Great, and we'll double click it to open it, and in here we'll need a spline utility, not spline mesh but spline. Great. We'll need a cube just to see where the actor is once we place it into the scene, and we'll need a scene capture component 2D. Great, and back here we'll need a render target called Lightact render target. Great, and let's double click it, and in here we change it to full HD. Save, close. Great. And now we open its event graph, the camera mover's event graph. Okay, I'm going to create a sequence node So our first order of business, so to speak, is to receive the layer time variable from Lightact. So let's current layer time and actual layer time. Great. And let's change it to float. And let's change that to float and drag it here and click on set. And let's type in JSON. So this is the node that was added by Lightact plugin, and it reads the shared memory and converts it to map of strings to strings. Handle name, as we typed in, is vars to UE and 1024, and these values are the same as the values you typed in here, vars to UE and 1024. Great, and now let's create a branch. If it's successful, great, and if it is successful, we try to find a variable called layer time. Perfect. Oops. And if we manage to find that variable, we set the value of the current layer time to float like this. Great. And we'll also create a print string for debugging purposes. Oops, like this. Great. Okay, and now that we have this, we need to do the following. First, I'm going to go back into the main scene and create a nice little path along which the camera will travel. And let's say we want to travel from here to the lake, and then we'll stop somewhere there. So I drag the camera mover actor, and I'm going to move it so it's a bit closer to the actual where I'm at the moment. And now I'm going to double click it again to move the cube a bit away so it's like this. And now we need to move this spline point. The way I'll do it is that I'll move it all the way to the end of my path, which is, let's move it to the bridge down over there. Where is it? Oops, like this. Move it down. Where am I? I'm here. Great. And now what we'll do is move closer and create a couple of additional spline points. Like this. Okay. Add spline point. Perfect. Like this, and add spline point. And add some more. And also let's right click and visualize roll and scale. So, because we'll be also rotating based on the spline. All right, let's see how this looks. Okay. So we'll start here and then we'll travel along the way. Let's select it and rotate it a bit. All right, this is it. Okay, perfect. Now we open the camera mover class again, like this. And okay, to repeat, we received the current layer time from Lightact. Let's see if this works. If I press play, okay, we got the 0.25. Let's see what's being sent. Where's the layer? Here. This is wrong. Okay. Okay, now it's working great. Okay, so what was wrong was that we forgot to select the parent device of the shared memory sender. All right, let's go back and open the blueprint again. Okay, so we are receiving the current layer time. Now, what we want to do is we're not going to be using the exact values coming from Lightact, because what happens is that Lightact and Unreal Engine are running at different frame rates, so you might have some jerkiness every now and then. So that's why it's a good practice to use interpolation, to always interpolate towards the value coming from Lightact. So I'm going to do this and type in interp and interpolate towards the target, which is current layer time, and delta world seconds. Okay, and do this, and interp speed, let's try 5 and connect it like this. Great. Now what we need to do is drag off of this and sorry, not drag, but make a reference to spline. And what we'll be doing is essentially setting the location and rotation of the scene capture component 2D. So set world transform. Great. And connect it like this. And let's type in make transform. Okay, and before we continue, let's make sure we have the correct, I think it's this one. Yeah. And what we also need to do is make sure that the final color is selected and not the alpha, not the one that's default inverted opacity. Okay, I'm going to move this a bit away. And let's type in, let's find out what's the length of the spline. Get spline length. Great. To repeat basically what we'll be doing, we are receiving a value from Lightact from 0 to 1, 0 being at the beginning of the sequence and 1 being at the end of the sequence. Now we want to set the location of the scene capture component based on this relative value on the spline length. So if the incoming value is 0, will be at the beginning. If it's 1, will be at the end. So what we need to do is multiply and use actual layer time. Okay, and we need to get location at distance along spline and also get rotation at distance along spline. Okay, and the distance is this. Let's try to make this at least a bit prettier, like this. Okay, and now we connect it like this and like this. Great. Okay, now what we also need to do is create a spout sender. So let's create a spout sender, which will send the texture from our render target to Lightact. So the UE4, that's the spout name, which matches what you typed. Where is it? It matches what you typed in here, UE4. Perfect. Okay. And we need to send the texture from texture render target 2D. And you need to expand that and select our, I think it's this one. The last thing we need to do you need to make sure that whenever you exit the game, the spout sender is closed. So close sender. Great. And type in UE4 and place the name of the event. Great. So this node will close the sender whenever we exit the game. All right, let's see what's happening. Okay, I'm gonna save it and click play. And go to Lightact and double click the layer. Where is it? And let's see. Let's press play. And we see that we are traveling somewhere. I think I know what's happening. What we forgot is we need to make sure that we are in world coordinate space. And great, this is it. There are two things to make this nicer, which is one is to create a video screen and map it to the canvas and then do this. Great. And to adjust the frame rate, stop, is to because whenever Unreal Editor doesn't have focus, the frame rate really drops, and that doesn't happen whenever you are doesn't happen when you try the standalone game. So I'm going to run the game in standalone mode. All right, and where is it? Great, and this is it. So now you see that we are nicely traveling along the path. And when the layer jumps, when the sequence starts back at the beginning, that's because this is selected, we jump back. So if you do something like this, and you see the interpolation in the back, that's why the camera sort of ends really slowly. The speed interpolates, but if you wanted to change that, you could have just opened the camera mover and in here either really increase this to, let's say, 100. Why don't we try? All right, and now you see that the changes are much faster. So if I press play, here we are traveling along the path.